And welcome everybody to the Fandom Zone. And today is a special day. I have officially kicked off my time change in case you guys were a little jarred because normally I'm streaming really late nights, but I switched my schedule around. So now I am doing my talks now and I'm doing my watch anime tomorrow. But today I have a very special guest here in the Fandom Zone for episode 3 of Fandom Talks. I have Mr. Nicholas from Echo Base Network. Welcome, sir, and tell everyone about your channel and what you guys do over there.
All right, so me, and my counterpart, Coach Groves, make up the Echo Base Network, and also all of our subs make up the Echo Base Network. So we tried to include all our subs in our channel, but we are mainly a Star Wars focused channel, not just on the movies, but games, comics, vintage toys, new toys. But we do more than just that on our channel. We also hit on a little bit on YouTube drama, a little bit on comics, pop culture, anything entertainment related, um, TV show reviews, trailer reactions, all that kind of stuff. So, but the main part of our channel is definitely Star Wars based.
Awesome. And do you cover everything in Star Wars? Because I know there is like some people who do EU, which God, those are endless debates I've had. Some people who just cover the movie end of it, and then all-encompassing coverage. And I would even include anime or animated features, kind of their own separate thing. Do you kind of like hit everything, or do you just specifically specialize in one field?
Well, we definitely Coach is a big, huge Clone Wars fan, so we do hit on some of the animated stuff. I liked Rebels. I haven't seen all Clone Wars, but I watched all of Rebels. Me and Coach both skipped Resistance. Uh,
Yeah, I did too.
yeah, neither one of us had any desire to watch that. So we did that. But the EU stuff, we don't really cover a whole lot of it. The we mainly cover the main things Star Wars related. The movies that are coming out, the TV shows, the animated shows that are out, anything relevant in today's time. And we might touch base during some of our videos on some EU stuff, like when we're talking about a topic, if there's something that is has to do with the topic we're talking on, we might bring it up or mention it. But that's about as much of the EU as we get. We mainly try to stick to things that are currently going on in the news and that are topics that are trending.
Oh, okay. So you guys will do just a little bit more than just Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, I did one video um, last week on the Sony Disney deal with Spider-Man. When Game of Thrones season 8 was going on, we were doing reviews and stuff on Sunday nights after every episode. Um, uh, Coach just started watching the new Dark Crystal series. I've not started it yet, but I'm going to. So we're going to be hitting on that series. We do Cobra Kai. So yeah, we do a little bit of everything. If it's pop culture and entertainment related, anything nerd and geek related, we pretty much cover. But like I said, the majority of the stuff that we cover is Star Wars related stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, because here in the Fandom Zone, as I elegantly named it, also for copyright reasons, um, we we on our late night side of things cover a variety of things as well. And we also talk about the various things. It depends because each person here in the Fandom Zone has a different speciality that we like to cover. So it's kind of cool that you guys, there's two of you, you guys seem to hit a multiple array of different stuff. And thank you, Senate, for dropping that link. The Senate is a great guy. Um, he comes to all of the streams. Welcome, Wookiee Lives Matters. Good to see you. Um, yeah, so if you guys are just coming, I have Nicholas from Echo Base, and we're going to be talking about him and his channel, and we're going to dive into a couple of things, and then we'll talk some Star Wars. You get your favorite stuff about Star Wars and things like that. But first thing I wanted to ask you was, how did you guys come up with the Echo Base Network? When did you guys start the channel, and what were your reasons for starting the channel?
So me and Coach have been going back and forth and talking about starting a channel since back before The Last Jedi came out. And then after The Last Jedi came out, me and him both did reviews on our personal channels of The Last Jedi. And both of us, like mine, I think got like 13,000 something views on my personal channel. And his got like, I think his got like 8,000 something views. I can't remember. I haven't looked at it in a while. But that kind of started us talking about starting a channel. But at the time I was watching, I was a huge John Campea fan. So I was watching a lot of Campea, and when he did his review, his non-spoiler review of it, I super chatted him a question and said, I just want to know one thing. Did they get Luke right in The Last Jedi? And he responded to my super chat and was like, they absolutely got Luke right. So I was pumped. I was pumped and excited. Me and Coach went to the theater to see the movie. And after the movie ended, we literally sat in our seats, looked at each other, and did not say a single word. And we just got up, walked out, and as soon as we walked out of the theater, he said, don't say anything till we get to Waffle House. So me and him and a couple other people that went with us to the show all went to the Waffle House to get some food and talk about the movie. And so right after we put our order in, I mean, I was like, what was that? Like, we started trashing on it, and we were so pissed off. And Campy and a lot of these other people that I was watching were giving it rave reviews, and I'm just like, I don't see how you guys can give positive reviews to this. I mean, did you guys watch the same movie? And so that's when I kind of started falling off of the Collider bandwagon and the John Campea bandwagon, because I just didn't trust their opinions on the things that I enjoyed watching, and they didn't have the same viewpoints as I did at all. So that's when I started looking for other people that felt the same way I did, and I came across Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, Ethan Van Sciver, Jeff from World Class, Mecha Random, Doomcock, like everybody in the Fandom Menace. And then that whole community just basically just blew up after The Last Jedi, basically all of last year. That whole community just blew up. So right before Star Wars Celebration this year, me and Coach decided let's sit down and hash some things out and come up with a name and for a YouTube channel. And we were trying to, when we were thinking of a name, we were trying to think of, we definitely wanted it to be Star Wars related, but we also wanted it to be something community related. And so when we were coming up with names, I mentioned Echo Base, and he was like, we could do network because it's like a network of people. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So that's where we came up with Echo Base Network. But we tossed around tons of different name ideas. But as soon as we hit that, we both loved it, and we're like, well, let's do that. So we started the channel back at the end of March and we didn't post our first video till the first part of April, I think. Um, and then I went up to Chicago for Star Wars Celebration. Met Odin, Josiah, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, EVS, Jeff, Anna, that Star Wars girl, Jesse Milestone. Uh, Tons of people in the fandom met us up there. And after that trip, and we got back, being coach just started hammering on the videos, and we got a lot of support from a lot of those other channels, and they really helped us grow in the beginning. And we just recently hit 1,200 subs, and we just started this, back in April. So this is the end of August. That's April, May, June, July, August, so like 5 months. So we've had pretty good growth, and we've had some really good videos. Our top videos are actually videos that are in our playlist, that I actually have unlisted, and it's on a lot of the YouTube drama stuff, like the Christian Harloff meltdown and John Campea coming to his defense and all that. Like, I mean, I think we got like 9 or 10,000 views like on that, but we were getting so many dislikes and hate comments that finally we ended up just unlisting them and putting them in a playlist so that people could just go watch them there. But that's pretty much kind of how our channel came about. And we actually got some help from Doomcock in the beginning. Did a video with him. Got some help from Gary from Nerdrotic, and he's John Talks. All those guys really helped promote our channel. So yeah, we're just trying to keep relevant content going. We try to, another thing is we try to make our content entertaining. Like Coach does a lot of stop motion stuff, skits for our videos. We'll do different kinds of intros related to the topic, where we like change people's faces and stuff. The one where Doomcock got unblocked by Shatner, which we actually played a part in. um, we did a whole video of Kirk and Shatner going up against this radio show host that actually started getting a lot of his followers were giving Shatner a bunch of hate comments for unblocking Doomcock for charity money. But that was kind of that's kind of where our when our channel really started to grow at a lot faster rate. But that's pretty much the channel, and how we kind of came about, and what we've been doing.
And I was actually following that thing with Doomcock and being blocked by Shatner. I thought that was awesome, and it was pretty amazing seeing how that all came about and how
Yeah,
everyone seemed to rally together. It really speaks to the kind of community that we have, and to the content creators themselves. I've had some back and forth with a few people. I've had the pleasure of having Odin on. We did a talk about Marvel, and I've been able to interact on Twitter with some people, and it's so cool because even the people who I consider pretty high up there, it's awesome that they talk to the little content creators, and I've gotten some feedback for stuff on my channel and things like that.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's a great community.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, Odin actually jumped in a private Google Hangouts with me and Coach when we were getting our Streamlabs set up to be able to do live streams and stuff. So Odin actually gave us tons of different pointers, which we've only done. Me and Coach have only done 2 live streams together, and I did one on my own that I had to delete because the WWE blocked the video because I showed a clip from a pay-per-view that they had going on. But me and Coach definitely want to start doing more live streaming, but we don't have a whole lot of it out there. Most of all our content is just videos.
Yeah, which doing the video end of it is really hard. I've done a couple of videos as far as reviews go. I used to when I first started, I used to do stuff off my cell phone
Mm-hmm.
and from my car. So that was like the start of it, and it was very rough. And then I sat down and I started doing like videos with like an intro song and everything. I'm like, wow, this takes a fair bit more, and especially doing movie reviews, you kind of got to get the jump on anyone in order to gain traction for that
Yeah.
stuff. So that's why I went to the live streaming end of it, because I like reaching a live audience and interacting with them. Which, by the way, Mecha D2, hopefully I'm saying your name right, says, uh, "What up, Echo Base?" And any update from Shatner about this? Last I heard, it was just postponed. So,
I'm guessing he's referring to the interview. So during that whole thing, I got in contact with William Shatner's business partner, and we were going back and forth on some private emails talking about getting an interview set up with William Shatner to be interviewed by Doomcock on his channel. Well, because of all the hate that Shatner was getting for unblocking Doomcock in the first place, they wanted to push off the interview until some of that kind of died down and went away. So they basically told us to hit him back up in like 6 months or right after the first of the year, when when Shatner's schedule gets a little bit slowed down a bit. So I got his contact information still, and I'm gonna reach back out to him. I don't know, probably the first part of November, maybe, and kind of see where they're at and what Shatner's schedule's looking like to see if we can get something lined up, um, eh, or if we're going to have to wait till after the first of the year. So yeah, the interview's still postponed for now, but they in the beginning they were all for doing it, and it was going to be some money was going to get raised for Shatner's charity and all that sort of stuff. So I mean, it was going to be for a good cause, but just because of all the SJW haters that they were getting hounded them about it so much, they just wanted to push it off for a little bit.
yeah, which is something that we've all dealt with from time to time. Gotta love those good old SJWs. I know when I came out with my Captain Marvel review, and I don't know if you've ever seen my videos, but I had one in particular talking about how much I love Brie Larson, and I was very vocal. But when I went to see the movie, I went in as a critiquer, and I said, I'm not going to look at this as Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. I'm going to look at this as a Marvel film that I'm here to hopefully enjoy.
Right.
And so I gave it a fair review. I said what the truth was. It's a boring film. It's not a bad film.
Yeah.
For the most part, there's pretty decent acting. I gave my critiques on it. But I had all of these people, and this one person in particular, write a paragraph on how I was sexist and afraid of aggression and all this stuff. I go, no, I'm not sexist. The movie just sucked. There was bad acting. Like, I'm not saying because it had a female in it, it wasn't a good film. I said because it was poorly acted, it was a bad film. And the author, Stephen Walton, had a question that said, "That's awesome. Is Doomcock involved?"
Yeah, Doomcock is involved. I kind of went back and forth with Doomcock and kind of let him know what was going on with the interview thing. So Doomcock's aware of it. Me and Doomcock have talked behind the scenes, and so yeah, he's definitely involved in it, and he knows everything that's being said. He's seen copies and stuff of the emails, and I basically would get his approval on anything I was responding back with. So before I actually sent responses, Doomcock actually read the responses and added or changed stuff, in it before I sent it. So yeah, he's definitely involved.
Well, that is definitely like uh, an awesome story, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was like going to lead into it. So that was that was like one of the coolest things that I saw, and that when that whole thing was happening, actually, that's when I kind of ran across your guys' channel was during that because I did not know about you guys. So I started watching some of your videos, which, by the way, I liked your reaction to the Mandalorian. Um,
Thanks.
yeah, if you guys haven't seen that, go check it out. But jumping right into Star Wars because I have my co-host. He's probably hibernating right now, PB, and we're always talking about Star Wars. I've been trying to avoid doing a bunch of talk about Episode 9 because, quite frankly, I'm sick of talking about it since the poster. People have been buzzing, and it's just like,
Right.
oh man, I just get tired of. Or I never thought I'd say that, but I wanted to start off with for you what's your favorite Star Wars movie and why is it your favorite Star Wars movie?
So my favorite one changes. Um, it could change weekly, monthly, but it's basically back and forth between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Uh,
Mm.
the funny thing is, growing up, Empire Strikes Back was my least favorite Star Wars movie. I watched it the least growing up, just because as a kid, the whole Dagobah stuff and the Han and Leia relationship stuff as a kid, that stuff's boring to me. I was like, I don't care about any of this. So there was parts of it that I liked, but as a movie in a whole, it was my least favorite growing up as a kid. Um, but as I got older, as an adult, Empire actually is one of my favorites now. But Jedi is just got so much action, and it's got, in my opinion, the best space battle out of any science fiction film of all time. Like I love the space battle at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. Like very, I feel like, and this is kind of weird, but I feel like it's an underrated battle, especially with Lando going in there, and
yeah,
they were taking, which was weird seeing Lando and the Millennium Falcon, but justified because actually my favorite out of Han and Lando, which I've caught in stuff from Chris Knight, is because he likes Han Solo. I like
mhm,
Lando Calrissian, and I always thought it was awesome that Lando gets to take his ship, the Millennium Falcon, and fly
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Because anyone who's a fan knows it was originally Lando's ship,
yeah, absolutely. And
and
and and
Han won it.
And the other cool thing about that is, there at that end during that space battle, you not only have all that going on, but you got the whole ground battle going on with the ATSTs and all the stormtroopers and the Ewoks, and they're trying to break into the bunker, and then you got up on the Death Star, you got Vader and Luke. It's just there's so much action and there's so much going on. I love it. It was the first Star Wars movie that I saw in the theaters. My dad actually took me and my sister and a friend of mine. I was probably three or 4 years old at the time, and it was the first Star Wars movie I saw in the theater. And then once they came out on videotapes, which buying movies on cassette tapes back in the early '80s was not cheap. It was actually pretty expensive at the time to actually buy home movies. So what people did and what my dad did is, um, he would find people that had copies of it, borrow them, go rent a VCR from the video rental store, put the tape in, hit play, and on the other VCR put a blank tape in and hit record. And so
Yeah, people don't remember those days.
yeah, so that's actually how I got my Star Wars movies as a kid. Is they were copied off of an actual VHS tape onto a blank one, and then I watched them all the time. And the funny thing is, I watched them so much growing up as a kid that when the DVDs came out, Um, I bought the DVDs at the time, and when I watched them, I was like, "Oh my God, this looks so clear!" Because I'd just worn those VHS tapes out over the years. That a lot of the scenes and stuff, I mean, it just, I mean, they were blurry. It wasn't that crisp. That it was not that clear at all. And so it was like a whole new experience for me, watching it on DVD for the first time.
Yeah, and it's funny because me myself, I remember, I do remember VHS tapes. I remember when, like, unlike other things, with scratches with DVDs and you can wipe them away and stuff, with VHS tapes, if you had a defect, you had to like cut it and then kind of splice it together. You were like a
Yeah.
technician. You
Yep.
put a little
Yep.
tape on the back.
Yep. Yep. And I had to do that several times.
So then you'd have like one scene you get to, and it kind
Yep.
of like jump the scene.
Yep. Absolutely.
And for me, and it's weird. Every time I ask that question about the old trilogy, I just get Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. But for me, it was always A New Hope was my favorite, and it was just because I don't know, that was kind of like the first one that I watched,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I always have this thing about beginnings. Like I'm in a war with my co-host PB about the differences between Terminator 1 and 2,
Hmm.
and we joke around. He's like, "Yeah, Terminator 1 is trash," but I'm always like the person who likes the first of everything, I guess, because
Yeah.
I figure without the beginning, you can't have the middle or the end.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I grew up on the first Terminator movie also. And I loved the first one. But but I also love A New Hope. I love the first Star Wars. I mean, I would consider, the Star Wars original trilogy as a whole is my favorite movies of all time. And then of course my favorites of each of the three movies, changes. But I mean, I love all of them. But yeah, I love the first Terminator. I definitely probably like the second one a little bit more, but I love the first one. I mean, I've seen it countless amount of times.
and that's the thing that comes back to Star Wars and what has been going on with these new trilogies, which I'm kind of going to ask those devastating questions of which one do you like out of this new sequel trilogy. But before we jump into that, I wanted to say, Last Jedi, because we always got to talk about this every time we bring up Star Wars, because it's kind
Hmm.
of the thing. I consider Last Jedi one of those pivotal moments in time where you see with your own two eyes a series or something you love being destroyed.
Yeah,
And the funny part is, it happened so suddenly. Like every time I've talked about Last Jedi with other people, or we've brought it up in conversation, it's always been the turning point for the fan base, and it's always been that WTF moment that sticks into people's minds. And some people like the Last Jedi, and they legitimately have their reasons for liking it. And I'm friends with some people who do like Last Jedi, and they have some pretty logical reasons as to why they particularly like the film. And if you like it, that's okay. But
yeah,
the problem that Last Jedi caused was not so much of whether you liked or hated the movie. It was the vicious attacks that surrounded this film, I think, was the biggest thing culturally that started the schism in the fan base itself. It was a vicious showdown, and
oh yeah,
it wasn't just regular people. You had critics and the directors coming out and attacking fans, which for the life of me, I don't know if you could recall. I can't ever recall a time when uh, you've had a fan base so viciously attacked by, I'll say, the upper echelon of Hollywood and the media.
Yeah, I can't
So
think of a specific time outside of this off the top of my head, anyways.
I mean, I'm not. I'm probably gonna really date myself, but I was born in the '80s. I'm a '90s kid, so I mean, from then until now, I can't ever in my lifetime think of a movie that caused so much vitriol and hatred, and had so many of these bigwigs and elitists come out of the woodwork and call us morons and basically name call
Yeah,
because of an opinion.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't know if you could.
No, no. I mean, I can't think of any other time where that's ever happened. Um, Now I know a lot of the older people that are in their late 40s to early 50s kind of say that they, um, a lot of them felt the same way when Empire came out back in 1980, and a lot of people did not like the movie. And of course, there was an internet back then, so a lot of the people's opinions and stuff weren't, easily accessible. And same for Return of the Jedi. A lot of the fans back then didn't like Jedi and, thought the Ewoks were stupid and all that. Uh, but you never heard George Lucas or anybody else from those movies, trashing any of the fans that didn't like the movie. They just, they always kept a bit of professionalism, and didn't really go after the fans. I mean, they all the people that are making movies out there know that there's going to be people that like their movie and know that there's going to be people that don't like it, and that's just the way it is. You're not going to be able to please everybody, but when the Last Jedi came out, that was a game changer. Uh, a lot of the people that like the movie, like to call the people that don't like it, a vocal minority. But I would argue the fact that I think that the amount of people that did not like the Last Jedi is a lot bigger than what they think it is.
Yeah, and you know, here's the thing. I've heard that I do a segment on here called The Shelling, and we were talking about John Campia.
Hmm.
And for me, I maybe as a kid or maybe before this whole thing started, I never realized the clear bias that was probably always in media. And I harken back to the only, I believe, true professional critics, Siskel and Ebert,
Hmm.
um, where you had a balance. And the problem with the critics is there is no balance. They all feel like they're under the same umbrella. And we've
Yeah.
seen it in several reviews with several different movies. We've seen it with, Biased Tomato. And, it's gotten to a point where there's no objective opinions. And I think the combination of no objective opinions from the official critics, and I'm doing air quotes, and these fringe fans that have a big voice because they can get behind their keyboard and type different things out.
Hmm.
You have a lot more of these people who have a platform to be vocal on, and that's why I kind of got um, into this. I'm part of the Phantom Collective, and I've talked with people from the Phantom Menace and things like that. And that's why I've kind of come into this community because I see it as, people got fed up of being attacked. And I mean, it's okay. Movies are subjective. It's
Yeah.
okay for you to like or hate a movie. There's plenty of crappy movies that I like that I'm sure no one will ever say were the greatest movies of all time. But I
Right.
personally like them. That's what film is.
Yep.
Um, but attacking people for their opinions is where this has made history in the Star Wars franchise, so to speak. Right? You've never seen people actively just viciously attacking folks, attacking channels. Big media heads going after people like us saying we're trolls, man babies,
Yeah, it's
whatever other stupid
ridiculous.
terms. So
And I've had people try to pull me into those just in comment sections and stuff, try to pull me into those fights and back and forth, and I don't even engage. Like I mean, we've had tons of hate comments, and we always respond with something sarcastic and funny, and it doesn't really it doesn't bother me. Coach gets bothered by the comments more than I do, and I keep telling him that he just needs to not give two crap about any of the comments in there, because I'm like, dude, you don't know those people. I mean, they're just freaking trolling us. Who cares? But yeah, it's I got two friends that like the Last Jedi. I don't I don't see um, how they could like the movie because they are Star Wars fans. And I'm just like, I don't see how people could like it. Like I don't get it, but I got no problem with people that like the movie, and I would never attack anybody for it. But you get something different from the other side, which is mainly these SJW people out there that feel like they're getting this representation that they feel that they need, and so everybody needs to like it because it's being equally represented by other classes of people, either race or gender, and I'm just like, I just want a good Star Wars movie. I really don't care about diversity. I don't care about it, but don't change, you know, characters. And you're seeing a lot of this in the Marvel universe. Um, I don't want to see established characters changed, to fit some sort of agenda, uh, to make a certain group of people, happy or so that they can feel good about themselves because they're showing representation. I just want a good Star Wars movie.
and I think that's what we've been seeing across the board in media in general is this push for diversity, where there really isn't a need to. And
Yeah,
we've talked about this a lot on my night talks, where, uh, a matter of fact, just last night, where it's just like pushing agendas for the sake of pushing them.
yeah,
Um, it's if you want to do stuff like that, then fine. Everyone has a right to their opinions, but I think the problem comes when you're doing it to establish franchises and establish bases, niche audiences, and things like that.
right.
And even the normal moviegoer, sometimes you go to a movie, you don't go to a kids' film per se to see, someone throwing in a bunch of diversity stuff while you bring the kids,
Yeah,
or you don't go to a Star Wars movie so that, you have some admiral with some weird purple hair that can
yeah,
break the lore of Star Wars by hyperspeeding through, ship. We just want to see stuff that has continuity.
yeah.
And this is a great segue because I'm going to ask the question that I always ask. If you have to pick between the two movies we've had, um, and then this third one coming up, we can't really judge. But out of Force Awakens and Last Jedi, which one did you like more?
Force Awakens, hands down.
Yeah, I
Last
got that a lot.
Last Jedi is at the bottom of my list. I would much rather watch I'd much rather watch the Star Wars Christmas special than the Last Jedi.
Oh, wow.
I hate that movie. I actually the thing is when I went and saw it, I went back and saw it two more times trying to like the movie. And there was a couple times where I was kind of in denial and I was like, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. But the more I just dwelled on it, the more I was just like, no, this movie is terrible. It's terrible.
It's
and I
like I
would
can't force myself to like
yeah,
it.
try to, like a lot of these people on the other side are like, oh, you just want to hate on Star Wars. No, I don't want to hate on Star Wars. I I don't want to hate on Star Wars so much. I went and actually paid money to go see The Last Jedi two more times. Um, trying to like this film, and I just didn't, just not at all. It's just so many problems, um, And the thing is, I think one of the big problems that Disney has had with these new movies is I think they were rushed to begin with, because Disney's all about making money. And they wanted to hurry and get these movies put together and get them out there so they could start getting some return on their 4.2 billion dollar investment. And and there was no continuity or time put into these stories. They're just thrown together, and Kathleen Kennedy wanted a certain agenda to be pushed in there with this force is female and the diversity and all that sort of stuff, and it just has just made it a huge mess. I mean, the whole sequel trilogy is just a huge mess, in my opinion.
It is, and when you look at, I tell people, take, go to Last Jedi and take Luke out of it, take Han out of it, take out the nostalgia out of it for a second, and just look at the story. Just look at the story from a creative film mind, right? From a writing perspective, and look at the story beats. And you get about, even if I give you the benefit of the doubt for that atrocious throwing the lightsaber over the cliff deal, uh, even if I give you that first half of the movie, right? The biggest scene that annoys me, and I've said it across several streams, but that stupid Canto Bite scene. Like,
Oh God,
what purpose?
it served no purpose. I mean, you could take that whole thing out of the movie completely, and they're in this exact same spot at the end of the movie. They could have never went there, and they would have been in the same spot. You know?
And now here's something for your mind, Nicholas. Here's something for your mind. Think about if you take that out, because that's what, a good almost an hour of the movie.
Yeah.
That's a good chunk of the movie. Say you take that out and you work on other stuff instead. Now, how different does the tone and everything of that movie shift? I mean, even if you have those crappy little scenes, okay, they want their little plug for the cause.
Mm-hmm.
You could still take just that bit of wasted time and put it towards more character development.
Absolutely.
On Finn, Ray, any of them, so that we care
Yeah.
about the characters. And I think that's the problem. They want to pass the torch, but instead of doing what Cobra Kai did and making you care about the new characters, they basically rush killing off old characters so they can get them off the screen,
Mm-hmm.
and have us focus on new ones.
Yep, absolutely. And they're you know, and Cobra Kai definitely did it right, as far as honoring old characters while introducing new characters. And I love that show. I thought they did a great job. I loved season one was definitely better than season two, but I still enjoyed season two, and I'm excited for season three. And the Star Wars movies, I'm not even excited for the Rise of Skywalker. Like, I really just don't care. I mean, I'm definitely going to go see it because me and Coach are going to be doing a review for it, and we kind of want to watch the rest of the. We just kind of want to watch the rest of it die and see how bad of a train wreck it's going to be. Um, but if we didn't have a channel and we weren't going to be reviewing it, I probably would not be going to see the Rise of Skywalker opening weekend. I'd probably wait till the cheap Tuesday night theater price.
Yep, $5 Tuesday.
Yeah, $5 Tuesday, and that's probably when I would actually go see the movie. Um, but and the thing is that the trailers that we're getting on the Rise of Skywalker, it seems like everything they've shown is stuff that we should have gotten in the last movie. So it's almost like this movie should have been in the second movie.
I've heard that a lot, and you know what's interesting is, you know, there's a lot of mixed feelings about JJ. Look, I've said it before. I'm not gonna hate the man. I like JJ Abrams. I hate with a passion loss. Um, and people have heard my rants about that show. Stupid show.
I
But I
never
mean,
watched it.
good, good. You've saved yourself a lot of lost time. But I like J.J. Abrams. I always have, and people have said The Force Awakens is a copy paste, whatever. But one thing I can give J.J. is I didn't feel like coming out of Force Awakens that he disrespected the lore, but that he was advancing it, and he was coming to something. The thing that Herb, stop trolling me, man. Lost was garbage. He knows how to trigger me. I'm sorry. I don't want to go on a tangent. But the thing is, you can see, and if you're a writer or if you make film, they call them story threads. You can see where JJ had story threads, right? And then
Yeah.
you get to Ruin Johnson, and you see where he cut the story threads. So
Yeah.
now, I'm not going to lie and say I'm not interested in Rise of Skywalker, because I, in my mind, am curious as hell how he's going to try to pick up the threads that were cut and make it a
Yeah.
final movie. But I can kind of see the difficulty and how it's unfair. I blame JJ from stepping away, because he does that. He starts a project and then he leaves and does other things. So I think he has some blame in this, but at the same time, I also think there's a large blame on the company for not continuing anyone's vision. It's like they gave Ryan Johnson free reign and said, go ahead and screw up what you want to do. You've got the floor.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's blame that's on both ends. But what I'm curious to see is exactly what JJ's going to do to even make a halfway decent film. And I'll be honest with you, Echo. I'll be honest with you. I would be happy with just something halfway decent.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see how it's going to be any worse than The Last Jedi. But and the thing is, when it comes to The Force Awakens, I had no hate for that movie, but after The Last Jedi, it just made The Force Awakens worse for me.
Yeah, it destroyed what was started in Force Awakens, because you could see where through lines were ignored.
Yeah, and it's like none of that stuff matters. So all that stuff that's built upon in The Force Awakens is like, it doesn't even matter. So it's like it just makes the previous one worse. And the one thing that the other thing that I really hate about The Force Awakens and about J.J. Abrams is one, he kept Luke out of the movie until the very end. I did not like that decision, but I didn't leave the theater pissed about it. I was like, okay, all right, we'll get Luke in the next one. But the thing that really just boggles my mind is how they were bringing the original cast back together, and not one single time did they have a reunion on screen, and they're all back together.
Yeah, that was a weird choice. I mean, but at the time, I could understand it. Like, a lot of people had a problem with Han Solo's death. Me personally, and I'm sure because God, we're older, so we know that Harrison Ford kind of has always wanted to step away from Han Solo. I
Yeah.
think he feels closer to Indiana Jones
Oh, absolutely.
than Han Solo.
Yeah.
So killing someone who doesn't, they're like, hey, I'm coming back. I'm gonna give this one my all, but that's it. I can understand killing them off,
Yeah.
because you want someone to be passionate about the role they're portraying. And I don't care what anyone says. If they're not passionate about playing the character, it's not going to come across on screen.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of acting. So killing him and the way they killed him, I never had a problem with that. Me personally, I thought it was a shocking scene. I thought it was effective for what they were going for,
Yeah.
and I liked the whole aesthetic and the callbacks and the things from that. I've gotten some people disagree with me, but I mean, I personally liked the death of Han Solo. I thought it put a point on Kylo Ren's character
Hmm.
and what he was willing to do for his goals, which even meant, um, you know, destroying his own lineage and kind of stepping back from that. I liked the things that he was going for within that scene. I understood it. I saw it.
Right.
And then I was even hyped about seeing Luke at the end. And me personally, I didn't have a problem with them not showing Luke, and I kind of understood maybe what he was going for, which was he wanted to get his setup without taking the light off of who he was trying to highlight in that movie. I understand all of that. You bring Luke Skywalker, and what's going to be the first focus? It's going to be on Luke Skywalker.
Right.
So he wanted to character build like any good writer and go, okay, hey, here's Ray, here's Finn, here's what they're going through. Invest your time in them. They're going to be important. And then, bam, leave us with cliffhanger, which is, for me, how you do a film. I could see the beats in the story. When you get to Last Jedi, that all seems to just take a back seat and kind of go away.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the problem was. Now, here is the interesting question, because I've been going back and forth, but I've been very curious about what you think. Do you think we call it in the me and PB call it in the end game equation? When Doctor Strange is going over the variables of winning against Thanos. Do you think there's that one possibility where he makes it all make sense and kind of saves whatever there is to salvage?
Mhm. I think there's about a 1 to 3% chance he pulls it out. And the Rise of Skywalker is an awesome movie and ties everything together. A 1 to 3% chance.
And
I and I'm rooting for that 1 to 3% chance. I want it to be good. I want it to make sense, and I want everything that came before it to make sense from this movie. But I just don't know. I mean, they would have to, if it's a 3 hour long movie, like if they come out and say the movie's 3 hours long, I might jump up to 5% chance. Just because it's going to take a long time for them to fix everything, um, with the storyline, with all of it, and I have no idea where they're going. I mean, I've read all the rumors and all the different supposedly leaked theories and stuff, and I mean, I don't know which ones are true or if any of them are true or what, but I just I don't know what they're going to do with it. I know they brought George Lucas in to help, but I mean, I can just imagine that meeting of George Lucas coming in there and just being like, man, this thing is jacked up. I don't even know if I can fix this.
Yeah. I mean, and I can picture JJ going like, guys, I had an outline here. I had a template. What
Yeah,
what happened? What? And George going, well, both of you guys threw out what I
yeah,
had.
exactly.
So yeah, I think it'll take a lot to save Rise of Skywalker. At this point, I just want an entertaining film. I'll
Yeah,
even be happy with a coherent and consistent story. Even if I take out being a Star Wars fan and calling BS on the mythology and things
right.
retconned. I want a good film that story-wise has good beats and makes sense.
Yeah,
And um, my thing is just connect it in a coherent way, and maybe, possibly, uh, you know, it could come off as good. And D2, I did hear that Clownfish TV reporting new leaks about Skywalker. We're gonna get tons of leaks. It's like a leaky boat.
Yeah.
How much is true? I do the Russo brothers theory, right? Russo brothers, they're the master of letting stuff supposedly slip that was not true. So I'm hoping it's one of those things where we're just hearing a bunch of things just because, you know, it's the internet. Um, Although surprisingly for Star Wars, a lot of leaks seem to be true. So uh, who knows? But
Yeah,
you know,
it'll be
I'll go watch it.
interesting. Like literally when I go watch the movie, uh, I'm literally going to be thinking of all the different theories and stuff. And as stuff's happening, I'm be like, wow, okay, that was true, that was true. And at the end, I'll be like, okay, well, some of these things did not happen, um, and some of them did.
So let me ask you, as a Star Wars fan, because when they had the big D23 and they had the celebration, we did have some rays of hope. What for you was the newest, greatest thing coming from the Lucas camp that you're legitimately excited about?
I'm not excited about anything Disney's doing with Star Wars, but The Mandalorian I thought looked awesome. And
Yeah, man, $120 million for the whole entire production. That's what, a couple mil per episode.
yeah, like that is the series that I'm looking forward to watching, but I'm not getting excited about anything Star Wars that Disney's doing ever again after The Last Jedi. I'm going to wait until I actually watch it. And then after I watch it and let it soak in, I'm gonna be like, if I like it, I'm gonna be like, man, they killed it. I love it. Definitely go check it out. And if I think it's absolute garbage, and a complete woke fest, I'm gonna call it out. But uh, that's the one thing that they showed at D23 that I'm most interested in seeing that looked the best to me.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I'm a diehard Clone Wars, Ahsoka for life. That's my
Yeah, yeah,
girl.
yeah. That's Coach's favorite character. He's a huge Ahsoka fan. I haven't seen all the Clone Wars yet, but him and his daughters, he's got two daughters, and they watch the Clone Wars religiously. I think they've seen all the whole season. Like they've gone through it like twice, two or three times already.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge Clone Wars fan. I even liked Rebels. I thought it was pretty good. I will always hate space whales or squids or whatever they are.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God, like
Yeah,
I got to
I
that
did
one.
watch all of Rebels. I did see all of Rebels, and I've only seen some of Clone Wars. But yeah, I like Rebels. Um, if you take out some of the filler episodes and just stick to the main story that they're telling throughout that series, I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, the space whales thing, I was just like, oh yeah, this is yeah. There's some stuff that was kind of stupid in it, but overall, I thought it was pretty decent.
Oh yeah, storytelling wise, it followed pretty good beats, and Clone Wars. I'm hoping that they do something where, or I mean, the only logical thing I can think of is tying it to where Rebels is,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
to end it, because this is the final season.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I've said, like, I'm not getting the Disney Plus streaming service. I think it's a waste of money. I don't like anything Disney is putting out. I don't need it for the Marvel. I got that. I don't need it for the original movies. I got them because, I'm a kid. So
Right.
naturally, you have all the classics. So I really don't see the point of getting it. But, I will maybe through other avenues see the shows.
Yep. Yeah. Me too.
Because it's like I refuse to give Disney at this point any money. They're kind of becoming a maniacal uh, egomaniac as far as companies go. But yeah, the Mandalorian is interesting, and I like the old school feel to it. It feels like a western. It feels like the
Yeah.
lone gunman coming in. He doesn't say much, you know, messes up the town, and then moseys on about his business.
Yeah, and then he's got that little bit of that John Wick scene there, where he's using the whip from his hand and his blaster, and shuts
Dude,
the door in on that guy. And so, yeah, if we can get some cool action scenes like that, I mean, I think it's got really good potential from what I've seen.
oh yeah, yeah, it definitely has some great potential. The visuals, like when I saw it and when I've been watching the reactions to the trailer, I was almost thinking like, I'm like, wait, this is a show? Because it's got like movie quality to it, which is astonishing. Like, I'm like, Disney is putting a lot. I feel like they're making this their flagship because every streaming service always comes out with that first show that's their temple, their launch, or their flagship. That's going to be the show that puts them on the map. And this just looks amazing, so it's a good start. I like that we got Apollo Creed in there.
Yep.
I call him Apollo. I forget that.
Yeah. He's still Apollo Creed to me for sure.
So I find it interesting, and I'm curious to see what they do with the lore because this has been a big split with EU fans, and the Mandalorians are the most intriguing culture, and they don't realize that a lot of them went toe to toe with the Jedi's, and they did not have force training. They used weaponry against Jedi's, and they won a lot of battles. The Jedi's had to pretty much like almost hunt them to the edge of extinction because they were so deadly as a tribe. All they did was battle and fight. It's their whole culture. They warred with themselves. They warred with the councils. I mean, they're a pretty bad race. I would love to see them get, God, I hate throwing this word around, but get good representation.
Yeah, and I'll be I'll definitely be more pumped and excited to see them touch base on a lot of the Mandalorian stuff from the EU in this new series, and I hope they bring a lot of that in there because I think it will make for a really interesting story.
So let me ask you, how do you feel? Because I have a thing on my channel called Game of Thorns because that's what the last season was for me and my co-host PB. We did an in-depth breakdown. We had like 4-hour streams talking about all the problems in Game of Thrones. What do you think of D&D coming over and doing a Star Wars movie? And I heard that they're doing the Knights of the Old Republic. So if that's the trilogy that they're tackling, what do you think about those movies? And do you have any interest in seeing anything that they're putting together?
God, after the freaking disaster of season 8, which I don't know, it could really be just mainly because they were just ready to get on the Star Wars stuff, and that's why and that's really the main reason why it was just rushed and not very good. But if you take season 8 and some of season 7 and 6 out, I mean the show was fantastic. I was a huge Game of Thrones fan. And I think it's possible that if they take their time and don't do what they did with Game of Thrones and kind of rush it like that, I mean, I think it would do well, and I think they could do a good job. I mean, no question.
Yeah, they seem to be pretty good at adapting. If they go off the rails, then everything goes off the rails. And we've talked about it several times. I think, or me and PB's theory is that one of them is the good writer and one of them is meh and just kind of supports. So
yeah, exactly.
But Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. Now, here's a broad question, and I don't know how much of the Disney stuff you follow, but what out of Disney did you see in D23 that from the Disney end that you're intrigued or interested in seeing more about?
Outside of the Mandalorian,
Yeah.
um, um, golly, um, I don't know. Probably the Moon Knight stuff.
Yeah, I've talked about that too. Moon Knight is kind of like the equivalent of Batman from Marvel, so it'd be interesting to see, or Batman and on the DC side, it'd be interesting to see how they pull him off. He's got a very R-rated feel in the comics.
Yeah, exactly. I was just getting ready to say, I don't know how they're gonna do this because they already said that they're not having R-rated stuff on Disney Plus, but there's no way they can make it PG.
Yeah, it'll be very tricky to handle that kind of things. It's not to say that you can't do a show and adapt it to where you kind of take some of the bite out of it,
Yeah,
or do stuff off screen where you get the same but
right, right.
you're not directly seeing it. If you got a good director though, you can keep the interest and stuff without having to go over the top with the gore and the violence and the language. So I'm intrigued as well to see how that goes. What was funny when I was covering this, because everyone was doing D23, and I kind of didn't want to do the entertainment side because let's be honest, besides the Mandalorian and the Clone Wars, and of course Rise of Skywalker, we didn't get much else.
Mm-mm.
I was actually excited about theme parks. I don't do a lot of theme parks, but I've always wanted to go there with my daughter. Um, what do you think as far as all the stuff they announced with their parks, with them making an Avengers campus and all of the stuff they're doing over at Disney? Um, do you ever travel to theme parks or anything like that?
I have been to tons of theme parks, and I love theme parks, but I've never once in my life ever been to a Disney theme park.
Ooh.
Coach, on the other hand, has several times, but I have never been to Orlando. I've never been to Universal Studios, never been to Disney, never been to any of that. I mean, I've mainly been to like a couple different Six Flags, Cedar Point up in Cleveland, um, and a couple other theme parks on the East Coast. Um, but that's about it. So I mean, I've never been to them, but the stuff I saw on the Avengers stuff looked cool. But I mean, I thought when they did the announcement for Galaxy's Edge, I thought that theme park was going to be awesome, and it turned out to not be good at all. From what I've seen and heard, with them basically cutting out all the OT stuff and basically only having one ride that's basically like a video game, sort of similar to Star Wars Arcade, from back in the day. You
And
know,
it's interesting because actually we have someone here in the fandom zone who went to the Galaxy's Edge, and that's LB, the Lonely Banter. Go check out that video. But
oh
you
yeah, I
know,
love Lonely Banter stuff.
oh yeah, he's great. Very funny with that he does the way he does his videos, and there's been kind of a myth that there's like no crowds, and definitely dispels that myth.
Yeah.
The interesting part is looking at all the stuff. Uh, when I was like, because I've been watching several videos, it doesn't look like something that I particularly have fun in. I was more interested in the Avengers campuses and things like that, but it doesn't
Mhm.
look as terrible as some would lead you to believe. I just think it's a very mediocre rush sort of thing, kind of like everything that's been done with Star Wars. But
Right.
and having only 2 rides is kind of weird. But I don't. Once again, I don't follow the theme park set that much. I've just been covering it and watching it because of the D23 stuff. But I'll tell you, some of the stuff got me interested. They had a villainous thing coming to the parks, with like a laser light show and a little like
Yeah,
story
yeah,
that goes
yeah. I
with it.
saw that. Yep.
And I'm like thinking, man, as dad, that would be cool because my daughter loves all of that kind of stuff to like go through and see that. I mean, even just myself, I'm kind of like a big kid, so that would be fun.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would love to go one day, and one day I plan on going. I just haven't made it there yet.
Yeah, schedules and timing and stuff.
Yeah, and
What
it's
a
not
drag.
cheap. It's not cheap at all to go. You definitely gotta start putting money aside early for a trip like that.
Oh yeah, you're talking like the hotels and stuff.
Yeah,
We were looking at the different prices, and you're like, wow, you break the bank on even staying remotely close to the resort, and then you
yeah,
figure food, rides,
yeah,
merchandise.
yeah. You're definitely gonna end up paying a good bit of money for between by the time it's all said and done with, from the time you leave the house to the time you get back to the house. I mean, you're gonna drop a couple grand easy.
And really quick, shameless plug for myself. If you're new to the channel, or you just dropped in, or if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And if you like the video, smash that melee. I hate doing those promos, but so sometimes you just gotta throw those in. Um, so yeah, I know that you guys are busy, and I know that you probably got some stuff you got to do. So I'm gonna wind some stuff down. But before I do, or we jump off of the Star Wars, what is something they haven't done yet? I guess we could call it my final question. What is something that they haven't done yet in the Star Wars universe that you would like to see them put onto film and or animation?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, man, I took my notes.
Hmm. Something they haven't done. I would honestly, I would like to see a movie that is solely takes place on, well, two. They could do two different things. I'd like to see something completely on the Empire side, where like
Ooh.
Vader is the main character and the Emperor is the main character, and it's all Empire stuff, and the Rebels and stuff are just like side. There's not any main focus on that. It's all focused on the Empire, either between episode 3 and episode 4, or between episode 5 and 6, between Empire and Jedi, where they're talking about the where Mon Mothma was talking about many Bothans died, to bring us this information on the second Death Star. They could do something that's revolved around that, and the Empire, sort of like what they did with Rogue One.
Yeah,
Um,
like a standalone.
yeah, but do it from the Empire's perspective. You know, Rogue One was kind of following Jyn Erso and the rebels and stuff. I would like to see something similar to that, but solely focused on the Empire side, Invader and the Emperor and all that sort of stuff. I think that would be really cool to get a movie like that.
Wow, that
Maybe even have some Imperial officers and commanders or stormtroopers that are actual characters, and that have their own story arcs during all this. Um, Sort of similar. I don't know if you played Battlefront 2.
yes, I have.
So the beginning of that follows the chick who's uh, special forces, part of the special forces unit for the Empire and stuff. Um, but the beginning of that game, kind of follows the Empire side of things. I'd like to see a movie, sort of do the same thing, but throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Just talking about that, Disney, if you're watching, because I
Yeah,
know I know you spy mouse. If you're watching, we got some great ideas for you right here. Just saying, make it happen.
yeah. I think that movie would do well, and I think people would go out in droves to see that. I mean, especially if Vader was one of the main characters in it, and or in the Emperor and stuff. I mean, I think it would do great.
Yeah, I think and I think the point is that a lot of people too want to see different things,
Yeah,
and I like what you said because I feel the same way, and I think a lot of people do, but they don't say it. Look, we don't want Star Wars to fail, and I and Perp's been here in the chat. He's part of our bridge crew and does night talks with us, but uh, he's made some great points with creating whole new characters, right?
hmm,
And in a sense rebooting the franchise to where you're telling stories from different perspectives. I mean, you
yeah,
can keep this going, you can keep it vibrant, you can even uh not completely destroy the characters' legacies, but rather take the focus off of it. And it's an expansive universe. There's so much you can do, and you can play around with different people, different time periods, and different things that are unrelated but connected to the universe of Star Wars, and still make a good film, show,
yeah,
whatever.
absolutely.
I mean, look at the buzz about the Mandalorian. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, they're using the Mandalorians, but they've created a whole new character within the universe. Uh, I think they need more stuff like that. I think that would pique people's interest
yeah,
and get
I
them
agree.
hyped again.
Yep, I agree. Definitely, 100%.
So, thank you very much for coming into the fandom zone. I really appreciate having you here today.
Yeah, thanks
I've
for
had
the
a lot of,
invite.
yeah, I've had a lot of people screaming. Normally on my channel, we do late nights. We started a show kind of like the days of Johnny Carson.
Right? Yeah, I
you
love
know,
Johnny Carson.
yeah, some satirical humor, and so people aren't used to seeing me up actually at a normal time. Uh,
Right?
so it's been really glad to have you on and to hear about your channel and you know all of the cool, interesting stories that you have surrounding. It's cool to get your perspective. We land on a lot of the same things. And one time I'd love to get Coach on and talk about like Clone Wars because
Oh God,
I
Coach would be able to talk to you about Clone Wars for literally like an hour, like a whole hour on nothing but Clone Wars. He loves Clone Wars.
So, before we go, why don't you tell these great people we have watching, and thank you through the chat for coming in, and I appreciate you having watching the stream and engaging. I love everyone here on the channel, but Nicholas, tell everyone about your guys' channel, what you guys do over there, and if you have any new videos coming out and what they're about.
All right, so once again, I'm Nicholas Glenn from the Echo Base Network, and I do the show with Coach, who we do it together, and we pretty much cover mainly Star Wars stuff, but also touch base on anything pop culture, entertainment related, TV shows, movies, geek, nerd, fandom stuff, and we are part of the Fandom Menace. We hate The Last Jedi, but love Star Wars. Uh, so definitely come check us out. We're actually in the process of working on a documentary. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it is on the sequel trilogy, and it's going to be a legitimate documentary that is factual based. We're leaving our personal opinions out of the documentary, so it's really just going to be a straight up, you know, facts and truth, um, documentary on the sequel trilogy in the the uh, transfer from George Lucas to Disney on the franchise and stuff. So it should be. We're putting a lot of work and stuff into it, and that's kind of what me and Coach have been working on. But we are gonna be posting up some new videos here soon. I have no idea on what. We might actually have one coming out tonight, but I'm not 100% sure on that yet.
Ooh, exciting! So I love getting those things. That are like, oh, we're coming out with something tonight. I go, this is my time to catch up. Although I'm currently in the midst of watching a lot of Attack on Titan. Yeah, I've got something coming up tomorrow special. And speaking of which, thank you everybody for stopping by the Fandom Zone. And I appreciate everybody who is watching. I appreciate Nicholas coming over from Echo Base to talk with us and give us some insight on his channel and on all the great stuff that they do. Please make sure that you subscribe to the Echo Base Network. And I made you a moderator so you can drop a link in there for everyone because I'm terrible at links.
Oh yeah. I can definitely do that. And again, thanks for the invite and thanks for having me on. I enjoyed the conversation and it was fun.
Oh yeah. I love doing one-on-one chats, and we will be doing more of these. So everyone who's curious, I won't be doing my late night shows on Saturday or Sunday. I'm giving myself a little bit of a time off because I tend to burn myself out with a stream, nonstop streams like that consistently. But I will be bringing you Phantom Zone talks where I'll have different guests from the collective or from. Hopefully, I could get some Phantom Menace people on here. And I'm glad you came on, sir, but I want to try to get every single person and get all their point of views and have great conversation. That's what this show is about. Tomorrow I will be doing Watch Anime, and me, Perp Minded, and Fatal J will be talking about the wonderful show Attack on Titans and why you should watch it. So definitely come aboard, watch that. It's going to be some great witty banter. It's probably going to be some shenanigans. And don't forget to check out our late night talks with Zod and PD. We do them every day, Monday through Friday. I mean, technically, if we start at midnight, so it's technically the next day. But, time zones. So anyways, thank you, everybody, for stopping along and listening to us chit-chat. We appreciate all of you. And you guys all know the rule here in the Phantom Zone. Wrong banner. Darn. I screwed up my segue. There we go. Kneel before Zod. Bye, everybody.
See y'all.